Hello, thanks for joining me. I'm in the workshop today and I'm refurbishing, setting up this spare set of wheels I have for my KTM. The reason I have two sets of wheels is that I normally run knobblies, quite aggressive knobblies, 100% off-road tyres with mousses inside, and they're great for the kind of terrain that we have riding around here in the north of England, but not necessarily suitable for longer distance TET rides. In a couple of weeks' time, I'm setting off to ride the TET up into Scandinavia, and I'm planning to do over 3,000 miles in just a couple of weeks, and so knobblies and mousses just are not going to be suitable. So what I'm going to do is, with these rims, just checking them okay because I've not used them for a while, I'm first of all going to fit new bearings and dust seals in them, because I'm going to be doing a lot of miles and I want to be 100% sure that they're okay. I've got some new brake discs, front and rear brake discs here that I'm going to fit. Got a new sprocket as well. Two new inner tubes here, front and rear inner tube, and then over here my new tyres. I'm fitting a pair of Mitas E7s. Yeah, never used these before, so going to see how I get on. As I say, we've got quite a lot of road work, and the off-road work's going to be mainly gravel tracks, dirt roads rather than very muddy or rocky. So I'm hoping these tyres are going to last the distance of the trip. So if you're interested in watching me sort these wheels out and prepare them, stick around. First job's to remove the old oil seal and the bearings. The oil seal should just lever out with a screwdriver like that. Yeah, there's quite a lot of dirt and gunge under there. And then I'm going to get one of my bearing pullers to pull the bearing out. I'll get both the dust seals out first. There we go. Get those out. Yeah, those bearings definitely need replacing. They're quite notchy. Anyway, right, bearing puller. So I just checked my bearing puller set, and I don't have a piece big enough for this, so I'm just going to knock the bearings out with a drift. So I've got a drift here, and I've got my copper hammer, so just going to get that through to the bed at the bottom. I've got the wheel resting on a couple of pieces of wood to sort of support it, and just knock that pulley out the bottom. Obviously it's a bit brutal as this, but as they're going straight in the bin, it doesn't really matter. There we are. So that's the bearing out from the bottom side there, and just turn the wheel over and then knock this one out from this side. And that's that bearing out as well. So that's the front wheel bearings out. So I'll do the same with the back wheel now. Get a lot of dirt everywhere when you're riding off-road, so the bearings don't last that long, unfortunately, and gotta give it a good clean out before you put the new bearings in. This side's got a circlip on it, which you see you've got to remember to take off before you remove the bearings. I can see a load of dirt inside the hub. Actually, I'm going to wash that out as well. Might as well give it a good clean once I've got it apart. If you own a dirt bike, you've probably done this job loads of times, but I guess you may be watching this if you haven't done it before. So I'll just point out, here's the new bearings and dust seals. Just point out, on my KTM at least, different bearings in the front and rear wheels. So these are the front wheel bearings, they're thinner, and these are the rear wheel bearings. So there's two bearings in each wheel, and the dust seals, and as I said, there's a circlip there, so there's a new circlip to go on the rear one. But you maybe see the comparison there. Well, I'll open up the packet and you'll be able to see better. So open these up. I'll do the front wheel first and then do the rear wheel. So so I don't mix them up. I'll do them one at a time. It's difficult to mix them up because I said they are different size, but also the dust seals are different. So if I just hold this up to the camera, you can see the bearings for the front wheel, they're actually quite thin. If I just get one of the old bearings that I just knocked out the rear wheel, you can see the rear wheel bearings are quite a bit thicker. And then the dust seals for the front wheel, they haven't got a metal plate on, whether the rear wheel ones do have, if that makes sense. Okay, so let's get the front wheel and get this sorted out and get these bearings in. When you're putting the new bearings in, you want to make sure they go in straight. So pop that in there. You can usually just push it in the first bit, okay, and then you need some kind of driver so that you're just driving on the outer race of the bearing, not the inner race, otherwise you might damage the bearing. Also, you've got to make sure if the bearings go, you know, just one way, make sure you get them the right way around, but these are reversible. So I've got a large socket here, which is just the right size to sit on the outer race there, and so just going to gently tap this in. You're not going to be able to hear me. I might just adjust where I'm resting that on the piece of wood there, so it's not rattling the spokes. Yeah, and tap it in and just try and, you know, go around, try and keep it level as it's going in, so it goes in evenly. And all the way in till it should seat on, there's a little lip on the inside, all the way in so till it seats on that. And then when you do the other side, first of all, you've got to remember to put the little spacer tube, wrong one, put the little spacer tube in here. That was the rear wheel one. And then, again, same with the bearing for this side, use the socket to tap it in evenly so that you're just tapping on the outer race. If the bearings are difficult to get in, you can pop the bearings in the freezer for a while first, and that'll, you know, shrink them a little bit, makes them easier to get in. But these are not too tight because they've been changed quite a few times with these, so they're not very tight. So that's the bearings in. You can tell when you've got them seated right down because the spacer in the middle, it should be just gripped lightly by the bearings. And then the dust seals, I like to just put a little bit of rubber grease around the outside of the dust seals just to lubricate them going in so they slide in easier. And they should just push in. You can see that one, I don't need any tapping at all. It just pushes in with my fingers. Again, same with the other side. Just put a little bit of rubber grease around the outside. This is red rubber grease, Castrol rubber grease. Again, that should just push in. There we are. And again, making sure that it sits levelly all the way around. Just wipe off the excess rubber grease. Right, that is the front wheel done. Going to then put the new bearings in the rear wheel. Exactly the same procedure. Okay, put the new circlip in. It should be obvious which side it goes in because there's the slot for it. Just push it down with the screwdriver until you hear it clicking. There we are, and hear it pop in. That's that in, and then we can put the dust seal over the top of that. And again, even though this is metal on the outside, I still just put a little bit of the rubber grease around it just to help. Now, because this one's metal, it is a tighter fit. So just have to tap that in gently. So don't tap that too far, that should be just sitting just about flush. Lovely. Now do the other side. Good. Right, next job. New discs, new sprockets on. New brake discs then. So, got brand new bolts here to fasten the brake discs on. You should always use new bolts when you're changing the brake discs. They're not expensive, and these come pre-coated with a bit of Loctite on the thread. Don't know if you can make that out. There's a slight red tint to that, which is Loctite. So the sort of single-use items of these. That pack should do for both. So the front wheel, front brake disc, there is a right and a wrong side. Should be obvious which way go around. There's a little recess on the outer side for the bolt heads to sit in. So that goes there. Get the bolts in and then torque them down. Right, these bolts need to be torqued down. They are 14 Newton meters, which is not very tight, but remember there's Loctite on them, and I would never put them on without Loctite. So see, that's not very tight at all, really. But then they're quite small bolts, so if you try and clamp them down too much, you're likely to shear them off. Right, so that's the front wheel sorted. Let's have a look at the back wheel. So again, got the new disc for the back wheel. It's obvious which way it goes. There's a wrong way and a right way. There's a little recess for the bolt heads to go in, and I've got the new bolts that have already got the Loctite on them. Right, okay, it's the rotor done. Flip it over. That's got a new sprocket on there as well. This is my new rear sprocket. It's a ZF sprocket, and open that up. That's nice. So it's got the hardened outer on it, and then the lighter weight in it, and it's nice with the orange colour as well. So the rear sprocket fastens on with it's a torque bolt with a nut on the back. So the torque bolt is I've got the torque. It's a 45, and it's a 13mm nut on the back. These don't come pre-coated with Loctite, so I'm going to actually just Loctite each one of these. As I got some Loctite here, just as I put it on. So again, I'll just put them all on finger tight, and then I'll go around, tighten them up, and then torque them down. Here I've set this I'm actually using my bigger torque wrench here, because it's that smaller one I used is just more accurate for very small calibrations. So this is 35 Newton meter. Obviously I've got to hold the nut at the back as well to get this on. I've just moved the camera around because I want to show you this. It's definitely, if you have to change a tyre with inner tubes, it's definitely worth investing in one of these. So once you've got the tyre half on, you thread it through the valve hole, and then there's a little bit there that screws into the valve, and then when you thread the inner tube inside the tyre, you're able to actually guide the the valve stem there through the hole, otherwise it can be a really fiddly job. So very inexpensive tool, but worth getting. There we now just got the valve stem through there. Just makes it so much easier. So I can take this little puller off, and then I'll just very lightly put the nut on so it doesn't come out. So this is the tool I'm talking about. So it's just a toggle handle, a wire, and at the end there, that just screws it. So you remove the valve and that screws in. Very useful bit of kit. And another thing that I tend to do is, before fitting the tyre on this side of the rim, I will just put a little bit of air in the inner tube, and what that does is gets the inner tube to sort of get into shape and sort of sit a little bit better. And I've just found that there's less chance of pinching the inner tube if you do that. Well, we hope. So put the valve back in. And again, it's worth carrying a decent valve removing tool with you in the toolkit. So that's me, just a little valve removing tool, which is yeah, light, just a little plastic thing. Easy to carry, light. Just stick it in the toolkit. So let's get a bit of air in here. And that actually gets the inner tube to sit better. And then I'll probably let some of that out now. Just once I've got it, I'll let most of that out. But I've actually got the inner tube sitting where I want it to sit, which is the purpose of that little step. And we're on. Right, and again, what I tend to do at this stage is I'll blow up the inner tube, bounce the tyre out under a little bit, then let the inner tube down, so that lets the inner tube adjust itself a little bit, and then I blow it up properly, and then make sure it's properly seated on the bead. And just a little tip, I'll just say at this point that even when I buy a brand new inner tube, and this is a brand new one, just come out of the packet, I always just blow it up first, and just to make sure it doesn't leak, because I have, had a couple of inner tubes which did leak, and of course once you've got it on, you're not sure if it's leaking because you've pinched it or not. So yeah, if you check it first, then you know it's good. On my KTM, the Speedo is electronic, and it runs off a magnet which is located here on the brake disc rotor mount, you see. So this is the original one, this is the wheel with the knobbly tyres on. So the aftermarket, if I just swap the wheels over, the aftermarket disc, which I've fitted on my spare wheel with the 50/50 tyres, didn't have one of those, so it means that the Speedo wouldn't work. So what I've done is, you can see here, I'll zoom in a sec, but what I've done is I've simply put a couple of magnets in the right location on the disc. Obviously the magnets hold on the disc in place, but just so I don't lose them, I've then just araldited them. The last job I'm going to do before fitting these wheels with these new tyres on the bike is to balance them. I don't normally bother balancing the tyres, you know, the wheels on the KTM, simply because it makes very little difference when you're riding off-road. But I'm fitting these tyres specifically because I know I'm going to be doing quite a lot of road work on this TET trip, so I want it to be as smooth as possible. Now, this is an ABBA wheel balancer. It's a static wheel balancer. Now, there's a lot of discussion about whether you should use dynamic or static balancing, but as this is used for GP bikes that do, you know, much faster speeds than I'm ever going to do on my KTM, I think it's good enough for me. So the idea is this: it's got extremely good bearings on here, and you've got a spindle, and that's got a sort of graded system, so you can fit it snugly into the wheels there, into the wheel bearings. And you can see, if I just leave that wheel, that it's rocking backwards and forwards, and it's just settling, so that there's a heavy spot down at the bottom here. So what I need to do then is add some weights opposite that at the top. Now, you can use stick-on weights, and I use those on my road bike, but the problem is with off-road bikes, they tend to come off. So what I've got is these spoke weights. I'll just hold that in front of the, if that'll focus, you can see. So they just slip onto the spokes, and they come in different sizes, got large ones, small ones, very small ones there. And then you just, there's a little grub screw, you clamp them on. So I find that they're the best on the dirt bikes. Normally I don't bother, it's only if I want a really well balanced wheel. So that is settling, so I need to add a weight here. Now I just do it by trial and error. Just start by adding a weight at the top here, and then just seeing how that sits, and see if it a difference. So you can see straight away when I add that weight, that top bit starts dropping slightly. So what I find the best thing to do is just put it at 90 degrees. So I've got the weight there at 90 degrees and see whether it goes up or down. So you can see that that is going up again. I'll do it the other way just to check. That's going up again, which suggests that this weight is not large enough. So I'll try one slightly larger than that. See what I've got. I don't even bother, you know, weighing them or anything. It's just because you're just trying to balance. So I'm not trying to work out what weight I need, just trying to work out which one balances it. And again, I'm not looking for perfection, because you know, we're not doing stupid high speeds. I just want it to be as smooth as possible when I'm on the tarmac. Right, so again, put that at 90 degrees, see what happens. So that's going up again. That's going up again, so that suggests I need something that's slightly bigger than that one. So I think the next one up is this one, so try that one, and just do that by trial and error until I think I'm getting fairly close. But do that by trial and error until I get one which seems to balance out. So let's again put that at 90 degrees, see what happens. Whoa. That's fairly close. Yep, still good. That surprises me actually. I suspect that one bigger than that will be too much, but we can try it as I've got the whole range. I'll save that one because I think that's probably the closest one I need. Put this one on. Again, just try it at 90 degrees. You've got to be very careful when you do this that you don't sort of nudge it as you let go. Try and get it stable, and then there, how's that? Try it the other way. I think that's good enough. There. So that's sitting static now. So I'll just cinch that one up. There we are, wheel balanced. Pop it back on the bike. Okay, exactly the same procedure on the rear wheel. That's settling just there, so I need to add some weight the top side. So again, I'll just do it by trial and error and see you know, what fits on there, balances it out. So I'll start with that weight, put it at 90 degrees, see what happens. Just not quite enough, that one. Still spinning back up again. Try something a little bit bigger. Try this one. I think that's the same size weight as I put on the front wheel actually. So let's see what that does. That's going up slightly. 90 degrees that side. Going up very, very slightly. Just very slightly. I mean, I'd be happy with that, but I'll just try one size up on that and the weight. See what that does. That's the next size up. I'm not looking for perfection here, simply because I'm not going to be doing massive high speeds. So let's have a look. It's still going up very slightly, is that one. Very, very slightly. I mean, I can always add another weight, add another smaller weight to one of the other spokes. So say add a weight on here, see what that does. Try that one. I think that pretty much does it. That's sitting solid at 90 degrees. That one as well. I think we've got it. I think that's balanced. So I'll just cinch these down and get this back on the bike, and we're all good with my 50/50 tyres for the Scandinavian TET. Good stuff.